2010, somewhere north of Phoenix, Arizona, off of Interstate 17. I'm William Wagener. In the great state of Arizona, where people are really upset about things, and maybe justifiably so. So I'm going to ask this lady, her name is Debbie, how it came to be that she had a car that froze up at 75 miles an hour. Where would anybody buy such a car? How could that happen? Debbie, tell me when did you buy this car? Where did you buy this car? And just tell me your story.
Yes, Bill. I bought the car at ABC Nissan in Phoenix, Arizona on the advice of a co-worker. She knew I wanted a Nissan Altima. I purchased a 2006 four-cylinder special edition Nissan Altima from ABC Nissan in April of 2006. Unbeknownst to me, apparently in other states, there had been newscasts regarding this recall on this vehicle and other year vehicles of the Nissan Altima. Approximately 6 weeks later, there was a recall on this model. I was not notified for 8 months. I had taken the car in about 4 or 5 times to ABC Nissan during the period of recall for oil changes and tire rotations and paint sealing and such. And the car never came up for a recall, or they never notified me for recall at the dealership where I bought it. There also was a little problem with the notice of the recall. They didn't have my correct address, and they claimed that they got the correct address from the Arizona Department of Motor Vehicles, and they had my correct address. I finally got notified 8 months later by a letter from Nissan of North America advising me of the recall, specifically what was to have been done on the recall, how long it was going to take, that there was going to be no cost, and to immediately go to my local Nissan dealership and arrange for an appointment, and they would take care of it. I talked to my local mechanic about that, and he said, you better go do it. At that time, they led me to believe it was the ECM module, which is like the computer brain of the vehicle. But then I found out later that my actual recall was on the cam and crank shaft sensors, which work in conjunction with the ECM module. And they adjust the speed of the engine and transmission. Well, I made an appointment. I went to Midway Nissan on the advice of a friend, another co-worker, who had taken her Nissan Altima there and had no problems. I took the car there for the 30,000 mile checkup and the recall at the same time. Subsequently, to my dismay, Midway Nissan did not perform the recall, nor did they correctly do the 30,000 mile checkup. I had to take the vehicle back in the middle of 110-degree heat shortly after they did the 30,000 mile checkup, because they had not connected the hoses properly for the radiator, and the engine was attempting to overheat. Shortly after that, I started having troubles related to the ECM module and the sensors in the vehicle. The battery went out, it was stalling and such. And then about a year later, the engine soon light came on and wouldn't go off.
What year was that?
About 2008. I took it back to Midway, and they wanted to charge me $900 for things that should have been done properly when the car was brought in 2007 for the 30,000 mile checkup and the recall. Well, I refused. A dispute ensued. They wanted to call the police on me. They wanted to keep the vehicle. I immediately went back to ABC Nissan and tried to discuss with them the conditions of the car, why the car was sold with defective parts. They threatened me with police arrest, and I left.
The dealership threatened you with police arrest?
Yes, they did.
What did you do to make them that angry?
I just went down there and said, I want to talk to you about the recall on this vehicle. And they just refused to discuss it with me, and they said, we're not going to talk to you, we want you out of the building. So rather than face arrest, I left. I turned my attentions to Nissan North America, which it says in your handbook. Well, by the way, this was a new vehicle right off the lot. I contacted Nissan North America, where I got the runaround. They said my vehicle wasn't involved in any recalls. I said, well, how could that be? I got a campaign letter for a recall. Oh, and I must tell you, too, that what it stated on the recall was not what they performed on the vehicle. They were supposed to do a engine oil analysis. They didn't do that. And all they did was a speed test on the vehicle. They did not sample the oil, and you cannot tell if the vehicle was operating correctly because you needed to sample the oil.
How do you know they didn't sample the oil?
Because there was no record of it, and I confronted them at Midway and said, well, it says you're supposed to take an oil analysis on this recall letter. And he said, oh, no. We didn't take an oil sample. And I said, why not? He said, well, because it wasn't necessary. Your engine was okay. I said, but, I'm still having problems with it. And basically they didn't do anything.